at 04:17 local time, 8 Ukrainian drones were navigating through a Russian river valley at 200 meters altitude. No GPS, no radar emissions, just barometric sensors and preloaded terrain data guiding them through the darkness. The mission had gone perfectly for the last 50 kilometers, but that was about to change in ways nobody predicted. Unknown to the drone's operators back in Ukraine, an Mi-24 attack helicopter on an unscheduled patrol had just detected engine noise. The pilot was already turning toward them, weapons hot. But the drones weren't alone. 2 Neptune missiles suddenly roared from their launchers, climbing fast and bright. Every Russian radar from Bryansk to Moscow immediately locked onto them, exactly as intended, helping the drones do something impossible. The first Neptune climbed to 15,000 feet, its radar cross-section the size of a small car. No stealth, no subtlety, just here I am, come and get me. A Russian S-400 operator locked onto it because that's what they're trained to do, engage the obvious threat first. The system could track dozens of targets simultaneously, but right now, the operator only cared about this one missile climbing into its engagement envelope. Meanwhile, the lead drone navigated through a river valley at 200 meters, its barometric altimeter checking altitude against preloaded terrain data every tenth of a second. No GPS pings, no radar emissions. The drone was navigating like a submarine, by depth and compass heading alone. Behind it, 7 drones followed in loose formation, each one maintaining separation to avoid creating a single large radar return. Drone 5's proximity sensor triggered, power lines 200 meters ahead. The drone's processor executed a pre-programmed climb, cleared the cables by 3 meters, dove back down. The others followed in sequence, each one's navigation system learning from the other's path. While the drones were dodging power lines better than a politician dodges a direct question, the second Neptune dove to treetop level. It was threading between hills at 900 kilometers per hour. Its radar altimeter was screaming, minimum safe altitude exceeded. But the missile's job was to be seen, just not yet. Drone 1's acoustic sensor registered the Neptune's passage 2 kilometers south. The sound was distinctive, but the Neptune was just the flashy, good-looking assistant in a magic show. The Russians were distracted looking at it and couldn't see the real threat. Russian S-400 radar had the high Neptune locked. 2 interceptor missiles launched, each one pulling 30 Gs as they curved toward the target. The intercept was textbook, 8 seconds from launch to impact. The Neptune disintegrated at 15,000 feet, transformed into 10,000 pieces of expensive confetti. The Russian operators were already celebrating when someone noticed the second Neptune had vanished from their screens. It had dropped below the radar horizon, since no matter how expensive your radar is, it can't see through the Earth. The Neptune was now threading between hills at 50 feet, invisible to every system looking for it. But even this wasn't the real attack. Think of it like kicking in someone's front door. Everyone runs to look at the guy banging on the door, and nobody checks the windows. That's what Ukraine was doing here. As the second Neptune continued on its way, Drone 2's forward camera detected vehicle movement, convoy on the M3 highway. 3 BTRs heading northeast. The drone's threat processor labeled them as non-immediate and maintain course. But one soldier had stepped out to answer nature's call and heard the distinctive lawnmower buzz overhead, grabbed his radio. Multiple low-flying aircraft heading northeast. Within 30 seconds, Sector Command was triangulating reports. The math wasn't hard. 8 contacts heading toward the pipeline station. The Beavers scattered into pre-programmed evasion patterns. Drones 6 through 8 went north, hugging the railroad. 3 through 5 dove deeper into the valley. 1 and 2 stayed high and obvious. Somebody had to play target. Drone 4's infrared camera suddenly went white. Helicopter exhaust, 8 kilometers behind and closing. The Mi-24's turbines were putting out enough heat to light up the drone's entire sensor array. The processor did simple math. Helicopter speed 280, drone speed 150, intercept in 3.7 minutes. Mission timer showed 9 minutes to target. This was going to get real interesting real fast. Right on cue, the second Neptune suddenly pulled up from the deck, climbing hard toward 5,000 feet. Every radar that had lost it immediately reacquired, alarms screaming across 3 provinces. But why expose itself now, just 10 kilometers from the pipeline? Unless it wasn't aiming for the pipeline at all. The Mi-24 Hind emerged from above. The pilot was Afghan war vintage, dragged out of retirement because Russia was running out of anyone who could fly. The gunner was younger, had trained on simulators mostly, but about to learn that shooting real drones was nothing like the video game version. They'd been on a patrol when Sector Command vectored them toward multiple low-flying contacts. Translation: go delete whatever's buzzing around out there. The gunner squinted into the dim horizon through the optical sight. No thermal imaging, no fancy sensors, just his Mark I Mod 1 eyeballs straining against the fading light. The beam swept across the valley while he peered through the optical sight. The chin-mounted turret was slaved to his helmet. Wherever he looked, the gun pointed. Great system for shooting tanks in the middle of the day. Not so great for hitting something the size of a suitcase darting through the half-light. The Hind fired its 12.7mm Yak-B gatling gun, sending a stream of tracers into empty air. The gun could pump out 4,000 rounds per minute, but that didn't help when you couldn't see what you were shooting at very well. Drone 2's mics caught the supersonic snaps of rounds overhead. It had no playbook for this, no barrel roll, no jink. So it flew on while the gunner chased the speck he could barely hold in the glass. The problem wasn't the Hind's speed, it was the geometry. At this range, the drone ripped across the reticule faster than the turret could slew, forever a half-second late. The sight wanted contrast and a steady range. He had neither. Tracers blurred into the early morning haze before he could walk them on the target. To keep the fixed cannon on, the pilot had to swing the whole nose, riding the pedals at high power and flirting with mush. The Hind wasn't losing to a lack of speed. It was losing to angles, lag, and physics. 3 rounds eventually caught Drone 2's center mass. More luck than skill. The telemetry feed cut instantly, wreckage cartwheeling into a wheat field below. 1 down, 7 to go. The gunner was feeling good about himself until the pilot reminded him they'd just burned through 400 rounds to hit 1 drone. At this rate, they'd be Winchester on ammo before they got half of them. Drones 3 through 5 were threading through the river valley when Drone 3's forward camera caught the problem. Bridge dead ahead. Too low to fly under, too sudden to go around. The lead drone's processor executed emergency climb. All 3 drones popped up simultaneously, breaking cover like rabbits from a bush. The Hind was ready this time. The pilots switched weapons to the S-8 rocket pods, 80mm unguided rockets, 20 per pod. Completely extra for drones, but Russians don't do subtle. The rockets were meant for area suppression, turning grid squares into moonscapes. Using them on drones was like using a sledgehammer on mosquitoes, but when you can't aim precisely, sometimes you just need a bigger hammer. 4 rockets rippled from the pods. Drone 4 took a direct hit. There 1 second, spare parts the next. Drone 5 caught blast fragments in its left wing, immediately lost stability. The gyroscope tried to compensate, but half the wing was simply gone. The drone spiraled into the river like a wounded bird. 3 down. But Drone 3 made it over the bridge and immediately dove back to safety. The Mi-24 lost it in the ground clutter. The drone's navigation system identified a new route through narrow valleys where the helicopter's 60-foot rotors simply wouldn't fit. The second Neptune had been playing hide-and-seek for the last 3 minutes, popping up just long enough to trigger alarms before diving back below radar coverage. Now it made its final run, climbing to 3,000 feet just 8 kilometers from the pipeline station. Every radar in the sector screamed warnings. The Panzer S-1 battery commander had been waiting for this exact moment. The missile finally high enough and close enough for a solid lock. The Panzer's targeting computer calculated the intercept solution in half a second. 4 57E6 missiles rippled from the launcher, each one pulling 20 Gs as they curved toward the Neptune. This was over the top. 1 missile would have been enough. But the battery commander wasn't taking chances after the embarrassment of losing the first Neptune to the S-400 40 kilometers away. The intercept was beautiful. 4 explosions overlapping into one massive fireball that lit up the early morning sky for 10 seconds. The Russian defenders cheered. 2 Neptunes destroyed, crisis averted, medals all around. The battery commander was already composing his report about the successful interception when someone should have asked the obvious question. Why would Ukraine waste 2 expensive missiles on a target they couldn't hit? But nobody asked because everyone was watching the fireball fade, feeling satisfied about their superior air defense. which is exactly when drones 6, 7, and 8 approach from the north, following railroad tracks at 50 meters altitude, completely undetected because every sensor was pointed south at the pretty explosion, except for one. Drone 8's proximity sensor suddenly triggered. Another helicopter was rising from behind the trees, 2 kilometers ahead. Smart move, except drone engines sound like lawnmowers, and the helicopter's turbines drowned out everything within a kilometer. But then the second Mi-24's gunner did something clever. He turned off the searchlight and switched to infrared, scanning for the drone's warm motors glowing faintly against the cooling ground while their silhouettes cut black shapes against the fading sky. Suddenly, drones 6, 7, and 8 were perfectly illuminated, sticking out like sore thumbs compared to the ground below. The gunner opened up with the 12.7mm, but this crew was better trained. Instead of spraying wildly, they fired controlled bursts, watching tracers, adjusting. Drone 6 took hits immediately, 3 rounds through the fuselage. It kept flying but started losing altitude. The processor tried to compensate, but hydraulic fluid was streaming from the severed control lines. Drone 7 banked hard left, using the only evasion tactic programmed, random direction changes every 3 seconds. The helicopter followed, narrowing in on Drone 7. But this meant ignoring Drone 8, which continued straight toward the tank farm. 2 helicopters, 3 drones. Someone was going to get through. The first Mi-24 was still chasing Drone 3, down to 300 rounds and getting frustrated. The pilot tried to coordinate with the second helicopter over radio, but they were on different frequencies. Typical Russian military communication failure. So now they had 2 helicopters hunting independently. No coordination, burning through ammunition and fuel. The second helicopter's gunner launched another flare, but the wind carried it sideways, illuminating nothing but empty forest. But while the helos struggled, these Russian soldiers were setting up the next trap. 4 Russian soldiers were taking positions on various rooftops around the pipeline station. Each one carried an Igla-S man-pads, a Soviet-era shoulder-fired missile, equipped with a dual-band infrared seeker that could burn through flares. It could chase down almost anything with wings. The first soldier swept his seeker head across the sky, looking for heat signatures. The Igla's infrared eye could spot a jet engine from 6 kilometers away. Those things run at 600 degrees Celsius, lighting up the thermal spectrum like a bonfire. Attack helicopters ran cooler, but still put out 400-degree exhaust. Even a Cessna's little engine glowed at 300 degrees above ambient. The seeker found nothing. Drone 3 was 800 meters away, closing fast, but its tiny piston engine was running at maybe 80 degrees above ambient. On a cool morning, that's about as hot as a lawnmower that's been cutting grass for an hour. The Igla needed at least a 3-degree differential to maintain lock, but against the cool air, the drone was only showing 2 degrees. The soldier could hear it, that distinctive lawnmower buzz, but the missile couldn't see it. He fired anyway, hoping proximity would compensate. The missile erupted from the tube with that distinctive whoosh bang, accelerated hard for 2 seconds at 2 Gs. Then its guidance system realized it had nothing to track. Without a heat signature to follow, the missile's computer basically threw up its hands and said, "I got nothing." It went ballistic, literally, arcing through the air like someone had launched a $120,000 bottle rocket. The missile crashed into the forest 3 kilometers away, its warhead detonating among some very surprised trees. 3 more soldiers tried their luck from different positions. Same result. The missiles would launch, accelerate, search for heat, find nothing, and go stupid. It was like trying to use a heat-seeking missile on an ice cube. The weapons were designed to take out jets and helicopters with big, hot engines, not glorified model airplanes running on what was basically a motorcycle engine. But the 4th soldier got lucky. His missile proximity fuse, designed to detonate when it got within lethal range of a target, detected something at 15 meters altitude. The warhead exploded, sending tungsten fragments in a sphere. Drone 8 happened to be passing through that sphere. Fragments peppered its starboard wing, punching through the composite material like it was cardboard. The drone's accelerometer immediately detected the asymmetric drag. Its simple processor tried to compensate with rudder input, but you can't fly straight when half your wing looks like Swiss cheese. The drone started losing altitude and wobbling toward the tank farm, but it kept flying. Meanwhile, Drone 1, boring, obvious, forgotten Drone 1 that everyone had stopped paying attention to, reached the main transformer substation. Its infrared camera matched the target profile, the warhead armed. And suddenly, being forgotten didn't seem like such a bad strategy after all. But the Russians hadn't forgot. The Zu-23 crews opened fire blind, muzzle flashes lighting up the sky like the world's deadliest fireworks show. But these guns were designed when night vision meant squinting harder. The iron sights had tiny light bulbs, just enough to see the crosshairs, not enough to see what you're shooting at. It was like trying to hit a bat with a tennis racket in a dark room. Gunners fired at engine sounds, walking tracers toward the noise, hoping volume of fire would eventually hit something. Every fifth round was a tracer. Looked impressive, did nothing. The Shilka's radar could track the drones, but its Atari-level computer didn't recognize something this slow as a threat. To the Shilka, the drones looked like wind-blown trash bags. The system kept dropping track, reacquiring, dropping again. The operator switched to manual mode and gave it the old college try. Drone 6 hit the pumping substation doing 180 kilometers per hour. 20 kilograms of explosive punched through the thin roof, detonating among the pumps. The blast wave ruptured every pipe within 30 meters. Petroleum erupted like a geyser, vaporizing into a cloud that hung in the air for exactly 1 second. Then the drone's burning wreckage provided the spark. Drone 3 approached from the east, flying so low it had to climb to avoid the perimeter fence. A Zu-23 gunner caught the movement, swung his weapon around, held the trigger down. Pure luck, 3 rounds caught the drone's tail section. Drone 3's processor registered a catastrophic control failure. Time to target, 8 seconds. Time until uncontrolled crash, 8 seconds. Sometimes the universe has a sense of humor. The drone plowed into the control building at terminal velocity. Its warhead detonated among the computer banks that manage petroleum flow to Central Europe. Every pump control, every valve sensor, every emergency shutdown, gone. The pipeline system was now running blind with no way to stop it. Petroleum that should have stopped flowing kept coming, pressure building towards something very bad. Drone 7 reached tank number 2, its camera showing the massive steel structure. The drone climbed sharply, trading speed for altitude. For one perfect moment, it hung motionless at apogee, nose pointed at the stars like it was praying. Then gravity took over. The drone dove straight down, accelerometer counting meters to impact. The damaged drone number 8 wobbled toward tank number 3, trailing parts like breadcrumbs. It wasn't going to hit precisely, but at this point, precision was optional. The whole facility was about to become one giant bomb. The drone's battery finally went kaput 50 meters from the tank. It glided the rest of the way on momentum alone, crashing into the tank's base. Both tanks ruptured simultaneously, but this wasn't just a leak. This was a blev, a boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion. The petroleum didn't have time to flow out. It instantly vaporized, expanding 1,700 times in volume. The math was simple and terrible. 10,000 tons of liquid became 17 million tons of explosive vapor in less than a second. The blast wave moved faster than a rifle bullet. Every other tank in the farm ruptured like someone had lined up dominoes made of dynamite. The Stalnoy Kon pipeline was gone. The Druzhba connection severed. Those 8 drones that just deleted a pipeline worth billions cost less than what the US government spends in 5 seconds. Bye for now.